A piece of fresh meat left outside today might spoil within hours. Yet thousands of years ago, long before refrigerators, freezers, or even pottery existed, ancient humans sometimes managed to keep food edible for weeks, even months. How is that possible? And what survival secret did they discover that still hides inside every modern kitchen? For our ancestors, finding food was only half the battle. Keeping it alive long enough to eat was the real challenge. A successful hunt could provide more meat than a small group could finish before it spoiled. If they wasted it, they might starve days later. So the greatest victory was never catching food. It was making tomorrow's meal survive until tomorrow arrived. That raises an even bigger mystery. If bacteria and mold existed back then just as they do now, why didn't every piece of food rot almost immediately? Ancient humans had no idea microbes existed. Yet somehow, they discovered ways to slow spoilage simply by paying close attention to the world around them. The clues may have been hiding in nature all along. Animals often store food for later. Squirrels bury nuts. Foxes cover leftovers with dirt. Even some birds create hidden food caches across huge areas. Long before anyone wrote books or built cities, humans were watching these behaviors. Nature itself may have become their first teacher. If you enjoy uncovering forgotten survival secrets like this, you're in the right place. Subscribe to VireonX, because some of humanity's greatest inventions were created thousands of years before anyone realized how revolutionary they really were. One of the earliest discoveries probably happened by accident. Imagine meat hanging near a campfire. Hours later, it looked different. It smelled different. Surprisingly, it lasted longer. Smoke wasn't just keeping insects away. Tiny chemicals inside the smoke slowed the growth of many microorganisms. Without understanding the science, ancient people had stumbled onto one of history's oldest preservation technologies. But smoke alone wasn't enough. A rainy season could ruin everything. So another mystery appeared. Where could food hide from both weather and hungry animals? The answer often lay beneath their feet. Cool caves became natural refrigerators. Underground pits stayed colder than the outside air. In some places, people lined storage holes with stones, bark, or dry grass before placing food inside. The earth itself became part of the preservation process. Yet burying food created a frightening risk. What if someone else found your secret stash first? Suddenly, storing food became more than a survival problem. It became a trust problem. This may have changed human behavior in ways we rarely think about. Families and small groups needed to remember hidden locations, protect them, and decide who could access them. Food storage quietly encouraged planning, cooperation, and even early ideas of ownership. Then came another breakthrough that changed everything. Water, the very thing every living creature depends on, could also become an enemy. Fresh meat spoils quickly because microbes love moisture. Remove enough water, and those microbes struggle to survive. Dry winds, warm sunlight, and careful timing turned slices of meat, fish, and fruit into food that could last far longer than anyone expected. It almost sounds like magic, but it was really an observation repeated over generations. Dry food traveled better. It survived longer journeys. Hunters could venture farther from home without facing immediate starvation. The twist is that preserving food didn't just save meals. It expanded the human world. Communities were no longer forced to consume everything immediately. They could prepare for winter, drought, or failed hunts. For perhaps the first time, tomorrow became something people could actively prepare for instead of simply hoping to survive. Still, another puzzle remained. Meat wasn't the only food worth saving. Plants created a completely different challenge. Seeds, nuts, and grain seem harmless today, but keeping them dry was surprisingly difficult. A little moisture could invite mold. Rodents could destroy months of careful gathering in a single night. Ancient people experimented with woven baskets, clay containers, raised platforms, and elevated storage spaces to keep precious food away from damp ground and hungry pests. Some discoveries were even stranger. In freezing regions, nature offered its own freezer. Snow and ice preserved meat for astonishing lengths of time. In scorching deserts, relentless heat became an ally instead of an enemy. Different climates inspired different solutions, proving there was never a single ancient method. Survival adapted to the landscape. Then something unexpected happened. Food storage started changing society itself. If one season produced more food than another, preserved supplies could support children, elders, or injured hunters who couldn't gather enough themselves. Communities became more stable. Populations slowly grew. Larger groups shared knowledge faster. A simple storage pit could influence the future of an entire village. Scientists believe this shift helped prepare humanity for one of its greatest transformations, farming. Once people learned they could protect food over long periods, planting crops became far more practical. Harvests no longer had to disappear within days. Storage and agriculture formed a powerful partnership that eventually supported permanent settlements, towns, and civilizations. But here's something many people never consider. Food wasn't always stored where people lived. Some groups created hidden caches along travel routes. Imagine walking hundreds of miles, already knowing supplies waited ahead beneath carefully chosen rocks or inside concealed pits. It was almost like creating ancient supply stations long before roads or maps existed. That required remarkable memory. Without written records, people relied on landmarks, stories, and shared knowledge to relocate hidden food months later. Mountains, unusual trees, rivers, and distinctive rock formations became living maps stored inside the human mind. Perhaps this explains why storytelling became so valuable. A tale wasn't always entertainment. It could secretly contain survival information, guiding future generations back to places where life itself had once been protected. Here's another twist. Sometimes ancient humans intentionally fermented food. At first glance, allowing food to change sounds dangerous. Yet controlled fermentation encouraged helpful microorganisms that crowded out harmful ones. Foods developed new flavors, lasted longer, and often became easier to digest. Once again, people mastered a biological process thousands of years before understanding why it worked. Our ancestors weren't lucky. They were extraordinary observers. Generation after generation, they noticed tiny differences. Which cave stayed cooler? Which smoke worked better? Which season dried meat fastest? Which storage pit attracted fewer animals? Those observations became traditions, and those traditions became survival. Even today, many of our habits quietly echo those ancient discoveries. We smoke meats. We dry fruits. We ferment vegetables. We freeze leftovers. We seal food away from moisture and pests. Modern kitchens may look completely different, but the logic behind them is surprisingly ancient. Think about your own pantry. Every can, freezer drawer, spice jar, or airtight container exists because humans learned one timeless lesson. Finding food is never enough if you can't protect it. So the opening mystery wasn't really about ancient food surviving without refrigerators. It was about something far more remarkable. Long before chemistry, microbiology, or engineering, humans learned to read the invisible rules of nature through patience and observation. They preserved more than meat, fruit, or grain. They preserved knowledge itself, passing it from one generation to the next until it became the foundation of civilization. What ancient preservation method surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Send this video to someone who loves forgotten history, and keep the conversation going. Because every time you open your refrigerator, you're using the newest version of an idea that may have begun beside a smoky fire, inside a cold cave, where someone looked at tomorrow and decided it was worth preparing for today.